chatting over the phone. I'ma need you to get rid of all the leftover pizza boxes. The what? All the boxes left over from the pizza. All the boxes. Okay. Make sure you recycle the plastic like we talked about. Yeah.
It's all falling apart. In a jaw-dropping prison phone call leak, Diddy is heard demanding to get rid of the leftover pizza boxes, code that's got the whole industry scrambled. This isn't damage control anymore, this is pure panic. Turns out the panic didn't start in prison. It started years ago in a hotel lobby with a man named Eddie Garcia. He wasn't famous, he wasn't powerful, but he had something Diddy desperately wanted buried, a video. The same video that showed Cassie bloodied, cornered, and fighting to survive. Garcia, the hotel's former head of security, told the court that not long after the assault, Diddy's chief of staff came calling, first with a phone request, then in person. He said no until she handed him the phone. Diddy was on the other end. His voice was calm, his words cold. "If that video gets out, it'll ruin me." What followed, Garcia testified, was a hush-money operation straight out of a crime thriller. A promise to take care of him, a late-night exchange, a bag stuffed with $100,000. But before that handoff, Diddy made sure the silence was sealed. Garcia told the court that Diddy FaceTimed Cassie, her face bruised, her voice low, and ordered her to say she consented. She did. Just like that, the deal was locked. Garcia signed a contract swearing the footage was destroyed, swearing to stay quiet, or face a $1 million penalty if he ever spoke. But now he's speaking, on the stand, under oath. And that buried tape? It's not just evidence of a brutal beating, it's evidence of obstruction, bribery, coercion, the kind of moves that don't just scream desperation, they spell racketeering. But it goes even darker. As the court reels from Garcia's revelations, new voices are stepping forward, voices from Diddy's hidden world of power, manipulation, and control. Among them is Sean Daring, a former escort who operated under the name Skylar.
I don't like to assume, and in those situations, I entered in full respect, and I went to everything I say, I don't want to overstep my boundaries and such, and I want to say in all due respect to Cassie throughout the situation, as she treated me with the utmost respect, dignity, even through these crazy acts. Initially, when I had, in the early days of seeing them, it seemed, it was very jovial, like, to adults who wanted to explore further. But as the encounters grew, there was an energy about these situations and such that I guess you could say devolved. So for me to say, from my perspective, that I know for sure by force, it's a little presumptuous.
In a chilling testimony, Skylar paints a picture that starts consensual but slowly spirals into something twisted. What began as two adults exploring turned into encounters laced with unsettling energy. He recalls Cassie's respectful demeanor, but beneath that, he hints at something darker. The vibe, the power dynamics, the shift. It was no longer just sex. It was control dressed as consent. He doesn't outright say force, but the silence between his words says enough. And just like Garcia, Skylar's breaking the code of silence, and it's unraveling Diddy's empire thread by thread. And the unraveling doesn't stop there. Skylar didn't just speak as a participant, he spoke as a witness, a trained observer, someone used to reading rooms, reading people, and sensing when the energy shifts.
What I noticed on a physical, just a physical person-to-person perspective, I'm also a bartender, was a bartender, and I did private parties and such. So I observe people a lot, and I'm that guy. I do appreciate, I love to serve. So I'll listen and such. I mainly was there to ensure I accomplished my goal for that evening, to provide the entertainment that the two people who hired me desired. And, for me to say I can definitely confirm this or that, it would be a little sumptuous, but I can definitely say, there's a spirit that had changed through time. And with that, I don't know what happened behind further closed doors with them, but there were signs some would say.
What he shares next isn't just testimony, it's a warning sign. He talks about how, over time, the atmosphere between Diddy and Cassie grew darker. He doesn't claim to know every detail, but what he saw, the shift in body language, tone, and unspoken tension, was undeniable. He was hired to entertain, but what he witnessed raised red flags no one dared to speak about. As he puts it, the spirit had changed, and in rooms full of luxury and music, there was something else in the air, something cold, something off. And just when you think the picture can't get any more disturbing, Skylar dives even deeper into the emotional grip, the power imbalance, and the silent pain behind the scenes. His words now shift from witness to reflection.
That's kind of how it devolved. It seemed, I don't mean to speak in such broad terms as this, but I perceived, what we did. We were adults on a adult playground through that time and such. And so that kind of was the spirit initially, where she was very just easygoing and warm. And there were times where in the later days, yes, it did seem very performative in a sense, and that's part of the kind spirit that Cassie has, that and people, many people will ask, well, why do you go back? What if you're so brave, why'd you keep going? Many won't understand the deep seed of arms that someone with power or fame may have. And I'm just a nobody. I'm just a small dude from a town in Paul, Hawaii. But I was involved in these situations, and Cassie just, I guess all I can say is I have the utmost respect for her, and she shocked me throughout the whole experience.
He describes how what started as playful and warm slowly turned into something that felt staged, like Cassie was performing, not participating. Her smile remained, but the spark behind it dimmed. Skylar doesn't just call out the control, he explains it, the way power wraps itself around victims until escape feels impossible. He admits he was just a small-town guy, pulled into a world far beyond his reach. And yet, through it all, he never stopped respecting Cassie. In his words, she shocked him, not by what she did, but by the strength she showed just surviving it. But Skylar wasn't just watching from the sidelines, he was part of the cycle, returning again and again to a world built on power, image, and unspoken rules. And in Cassie, he saw something most people missed.
That's one thing, I used the term, she's a badass lady, in the People article recently. And I mean that in the sense that she could step back and understand, I wouldn't use the word fear, I would use the word respect. She respected what her role was, what she was there for, and I ultimately believe that's the only reason I was seen more than once, is that there's somewhat of a kindred spirit between her and I, where I love to serve, and I truly do appreciate others, and I do believe that she has that as well deeply. And she wanted to make the most of this situation. She wanted to satisfy this.
He doesn't describe her as scared. He tells her as sharp, a woman who understood her role, who adapted to survive. He says it wasn't fear that kept her there, it was strategy. Cassie knew how to read a room, how to play her part, and how to make sure others were comfortable even while she was breaking inside. Skylar felt a connection, a shared instinct to serve, to please, to endure. And that's why, in his words, he was invited back. Not because of desire, but because Cassie was trying to hold everything together in a world built to tear her apart. It didn't stop there. The rules ran deeper than anyone imagined. They weren't even allowed to speak to each other unless Diddy was in the room. That wasn't a guess. That's what Cassie told him, straight up.
Yes, that did happen, and I realized I would like to keep I'm going to try to keep our private moments a little more between us moving forward. But there was a moment, where the acts were happening and Diddy left the room, and I forget what I had said, but I kind of just like, hey, what about this or that? I forget what the topic was. But it was a moment where I kind of had a realization of the depths of the situation where it is, because she was, we were passionate seconds before, and then the next moment you could tell there was something that had come over her in a sense that she knew it may cause jealousy. I don't know, jealousy or something of the nature. if her and I interacted in some way with him not there.
Skylar recalls a moment mid-encounter when Diddy stepped out. He casually spoke to Cassie, but her face went cold. The mood shifted instantly. That wasn't just awkwardness, it was fear. She knew even a small interaction could spark jealousy or worse. The message was clear. Nothing happened without Diddy's control. Not even words, not even eye contact. This wasn't intimacy. It was a stage, and Diddy wrote every line. And still, the story kept peeling back darker layers. This wasn't just about silence or rules, it was about survival. Cassie wasn't weak. She was calculated, composed, and fully aware of the storm she was trapped in.
That's why I use the term she's a badass lady. I wouldn't say frightened, I say she just understood the situation to the extent that she needed to. And that's why I'm sorry, like with her, I wouldn't say fear, you know, like it was mostly just she understood the situation and and yes, you know, I know that through those times, like that demon in his eye, yes, but I personally, I just see her as such a strong individual that I didn't necessarily see fear in her, just she knew her role at that time.
Skylar doesn't describe her as scared. He calls her a badass, not because she fought back with fists, but because she stayed calm in chaos. She didn't freeze. She adapted. He talks about seeing a demon in Diddy's eyes, a rage that hovered over everything. And yet, Cassie held her ground, not out of peace, but out of necessity. She didn't need to show fear. She already knew the cost of missteps. She read the room, played her role, and made sure to survive another day. That kind of strength isn't loud. It's silent, smart, and tragic. And even after everything he shared, every twisted detail, every unspoken rule, Skylar still held back. Not because he wanted to, but because someone told him to. The pressure didn't end when the encounters did.
I'll just, I've received guidance from individuals on, I'm just gonna try to leave it at that. I'm here speaking with you, attempting to just have my side heard, and ultimately I just want Cassie respected out of all this. You know, my face was out there, okay, and I just want to let my side be heard. But I don't want to overspeak.
Okay. He admits he's been guided on what to say, hinting that there are still powerful forces trying to manage the narrative. He's not looking for fame. He's not chasing attention. He just wants his truth heard. And more than anything, he wants Cassie respected, his name attached, and the risk is real. But the silence, he says, has gone on long enough. Still, the fear of saying too much lingers. Even now, the control hasn't fully let go. And that's what makes his voice matter. Because every time one of them speaks, Diddy's grip slips a little more, and the truth gets harder to bury. But even with the walls closing in, Diddy's ego is still talking louder than the evidence. He's not panicking on the outside, he's posturing, and a leaked prison call proves it.
They reach out yet? Nah, Bob, he ghosting. What this motherfucker doing? This thing sweet now, cause I'm in here. It's all good, you about to get out on bail. Nah, hey yo, check this out. Need you to reach out to the producer. Let these motherfuckers know there's a release date for that new Netflix movie. Alright, Pop. It's crazy right now. Everybody out there quiet as a motherfucker, Yeah, exactly. We gonna let them have their little fun, but I'm still gonna have the last laugh. What about all these lawsuits, though, Pop? Ain't none of them getting shit. I ain't worth nothing. Ain't got shit in my name anyway. Don't even worry about it.
In the call, Puff is heard asking about Jay, still clinging to alliances, still trying to manage the cleanup from behind bars. He brushes off the lawsuits and criminal cases like they're nothing. They claim they've got no real proof, says they can't touch him. It's pure arrogance, spoken like a man who's lived too long without consequences. But that false confidence, it's cracking, because the more he talks, the more he confirms exactly what everyone's been suspecting. This isn't just denial, it's a delusion. And it doesn't stop at power games or threats. Diddy's control runs through money, loyalty, and silence. In that same prison call, he turns on Justin Bieber and exposes exactly how he operates.
Money hungry. Justin said, what should he do about his whip, though? Man, the f*** is you talking about? You don't see this shit I'm dealing with right now? I know, Bob. I told this stupid ass. Hey, yo, check this out. Tell his light-skinned ass to go make a club appearance or something. Motherfucker, make some money. You 30 years old and shit. Pay your own f***ing car. Hey, I told him drop some music. I'm about to drop a new track this week. Everybody gonna want to hear what my sound like. Man, we not doing that shit. Y'all need to stay quiet. Pop, I can rap though. We got attention right now. Man, just do the I told you to do. And don't forget about the list. Make sure that shit is fucking signed. Alright.
He bashes Bieber for not paying for his own jet or showing up when told. But this isn't just bitterness, it's proof. Proof that Bieber, too, was caught in Diddy's web. Just another young star pulled in, used, and expected to obey. Diddy buys loyalty, and when the money doesn't buy silence, he turns on them. Bieber isn't the problem here. He's another victim, another name on the growing list. Because in Diddy's world, no one is untouchable, just bought, broken, or blamed. And now, the mask is slipping faster than he can control the damage. And just when the prison call raises eyebrows, more receipts start surfacing, this time from longtime media insider Harvey Levin. What he recalls about Diddy and a teenage Justin Bieber adds another disturbing layer to the story.
Years ago, Justin and Diddy, I think Justin was 15, they appeared on Jimmy Kimmel Live. And Jimmy Kimmel was talking about getting, having gotten Justin a Lambo, and it just seemed like they had some kind of a close friendship. And then there was a time later when Diddy and Justin are outside a house, and Diddy is saying that Justin and I are going to go buck wild for 48 hours. And there was one point where he said that I've told Justin that he can't talk about anything that happens inside my house.
Harvey points to a moment when Bieber was just 15, appearing on late-night TV alongside Diddy, smiling and joking about Lambos and wild nights. But behind the cameras, it was a different story. Diddy was already laying down rules, telling Justin he couldn't speak about anything that happened inside his house. That's not mentorship, that's grooming. A grown man setting boundaries on silence before the world even knew what was going on. It wasn't just parties, it was a power trip, wrapped in luxury, silenced by control. And Justin, just a kid then, was right in the middle of it. And then comes the gut punch. Harvey Levin doesn't just stop at recalling moments. He connects the dots. What the public once brushed off as celebrity burnout now carries a much darker weight.
Justin Bieber is clearly struggling. I mean, he's been very open about mental health struggles. And a lot of people think this is the residue from some kind of molestation, perhaps, at the hands of Diddy.
He points out Bieber's ongoing mental health struggles, something the singer has openly battled for years. But Harvey goes further, saying what many have only whispered, that this pain may be the result of something far more sinister, that Bieber's trauma might trace back to Diddy, the parties, the silence, the control. It all adds up to something that looks less like friendship and more like manipulation cloaked in fame. If that's true, Bieber wasn't just another star in Diddy's orbit, he was a target. And now the damage is playing out in real time. And just when it felt like the truth couldn't get heavier, Brett Cooper steps in with a personal connection, and what she shares only deepens the concern. This isn't just public speculation anymore, it's personal.
I mean, it goes so much deeper than just Diddy, and I think obviously that is a weight on him because he has now been involved in this. People have been speculating for months, if not years, about that, so I know that that has been heavy for him to handle, but I have spent the last month or so getting to know people that are close to Justin, and interestingly, we've had, similar to you, our lives have kind of been interwoven. Like, I was a theater kid when I was younger, and so my voice teacher was at the same studio where he took lessons back in Atlanta when he was a teenager. And so I've just been around him and people that have been close to him for years and years and years up until this point. And in the conversations that I've been having recently, there's just so much that has been going on behind the scenes that people are just now learning about.
Brett talks about her ties to people close to Justin Bieber, people who've seen the pain up close long before the headlines. She confirms what many feared, that the trauma isn't new and it didn't start with fame. She hints at stories long buried, now surfacing as the spotlight burns hotter on Diddy. Bieber's name keeps coming up for a reason. The weight he carries isn't imagined. It's real, and it's been building for years. Behind the scenes, behind the smiles, behind the tours, there's been a storm. And now, piece by piece, it's all coming in. And if you thought Justin's struggles were just emotional, think again. Brett Cooper reveals the legal war happening in the background, a battle that started when he was just a kid and still hasn't ended.
Most notably due to his break with his longtime manager, Scooter Braun, who he unfollowed at the beginning of this year, who we know, thanks to the press, that he has been in a legal battle with for multiple years to try to get out of the contract that he signed when he was 13 years old. And so we're watching a man fight behind the scenes for his freedom. And I can tell you, based on the people that I've talked to and the things that I know now, that this is not just a normal legal battle. This has been going on for a long time. It is very multifaceted. It is taking a major toll on his life, on his family, on his soul, on his creativity. It is impacting every single aspect of his business and what he is actually able to do.
She explains how Bieber's been locked in a fight with Scooter Braun, his former manager, trying to break free from a contract signed at just 13. This isn't just business. It's a battle for control over his own life. Behind the scenes, it's draining everything. His creativity, his peace, his family. It's not a clean break. It's a war with deep scars. And while the world sees a pop star trying to stay quiet, Brett paints the real picture, a man pushed to his limits, still trying to escape the chains fame wrapped around him as a boy. And if the legal battles and hidden trauma weren't enough, Brett Cooper shows us the pressure Justin faces every time he steps outside. The spotlight isn't just bright, it's brutal.
And then on top of that, he is being absolutely hounded by the paparazzi. And Pierce, I think you know this, but the paparazzi is not what it was in the early 2000s. This is not, Britney Spears era paparazzi. And it's insane to see these, throngs of people surrounding him no matter where he goes. And so you see him lashing out and saying, just leave me alone. It's like, obviously. And understanding the context of that, it makes complete sense that we're seeing somebody who is struggling because he's fighting with every fiber of his being to protect his family and to protect his work and his future career.
She talks about the paparazzi, how it's evolved into something more aggressive, more relentless. Everywhere he goes, he's swarmed, hunted, and hounded like prey. And when he lashes out, begging to be left alone, it's not a meltdown, it's a cry for air. Brett makes it clear, this isn't about fame anymore, it's about survival. He's not just protecting himself, he's fighting to protect his wife, his family, his future. Every shout, every angry clip, they're not outbursts, they're shields. And just when you think the allegations couldn't get more violent, more personal, more unhinged, another voice steps forward, and this time it's from the edge of a balcony. Brianna Bongolan, a fashion designer and longtime friend of Cassie Ventura, took the stand with a story that sounded more like a scene from a psychological thriller than a courtroom statement. Back in 2016, she says she was staying at Cassie's LA apartment when Diddy barged in unannounced. What followed, she testified, was a terrifying moment that still haunts her. She told the jury that Diddy groped her from behind and then dragged her out onto the balcony, 17 stories up, where he dangled her over the edge, screaming, "You know what the fuck you did!" For about 15 seconds, she said. Her life hung in the balance, her body suspended in midair, her mind frozen in panic. And when he was done, he tossed her into the balcony furniture like discarded trash. Courtroom screens showed the aftermath: bruises, cuts, a neck brace, trauma etched into skin and bone. She never told the doctor who asked, "Who did this to you?" But now, under oath, she did. And it wasn't the only horror she recalled. At a photo shoot, she claims Diddy leaned in and whispered, "I'm the devil and I could kill you." Another time, she says he threw a knife at Cassie. Cassie threw it back. Neither hit, but the message landed. Bongolan admitted her past wasn't clean. There were parties, drugs, and immunity deals, but that doesn't erase what she says happened. What it does do is show just how deep Diddy's world went. Cocaine, control, terror disguised as glamour. She isn't the first witness granted immunity in this case, and likely won't be the last. The defense claims she's making it up, says her story shifts, says she's chasing a payday, but when asked on the stand what she really wanted, Bongolan didn't flinch. Justice. And with racketeering at the core of this trial, moments like hers aren't just allegations, they're patterns. Patterns that are tightening around Diddy like a noose. And as more victims step forward and the stories grow darker, even outsiders with no stake in the trial are beginning to connect the dots. Former mobster Michael Franzese weighed in, and when a man who's seen the underworld says it looks bad, you listen.
Well, listen, it sounds terrible. Obviously, I'm not in the courtroom evaluating her as she gives her testimony. But look, all of this is adding up. It seems like these witnesses are corroborating one another, the same kind of behavior with all of them. I mean, it's very damaging.
Franzese doesn't sugarcoat it. He says the stories aren't just disturbing, they're lining up. Witness after witness echoing the same patterns: intimidation, manipulation, violence. This isn't chaos, it's a system. And as he sees it, the courtroom isn't just hearing stories, it's seeing structure. Structure that fits the very definition of racketeering. From someone who lived through organized crime, that assessment hits different. If Diddy thought he was above the law, he may have just run into someone who knows how the law crushes criminal empires. Slowly, relentlessly, completely. But not everyone sees it the same way. As the case pulls in more voices from all corners, former mob enforcer Sammy the Bull Gravano offers a sharp contrast, one rooted in cold logic and criminal experience.
And I don't think they're going to see anything wrong with her dangling 17 stories out off a building. I agree with Michael. I think it's horrible. It's disgusting. But I don't see it as a RICO thing. He was mad at her. They're not even saying why he was mad at her. Could have been an argument. How is that part of a criminal enterprise?
The mask is off. What started as whispers, lawsuits, and quiet settlements has now erupted into a full-blown reckoning. One by one, the voices are coming forward. Bodyguards, escorts, designers, insiders, and even ex-mobsters, all painting the same picture. A man drunk on power, protected by fame, and fueled by fear. Whether it's dangling a woman off a balcony, silencing witnesses with money, or dragging young stars like Justin Bieber into a web of manipulation, this is no longer about music. This is about control, coercion, and what happens when someone thinks they're untouchable for too long. What do you think? Do you think Diddy's actions amount to a criminal enterprise? Or are they isolated moments of unchecked rage? Was Justin Bieber just another casualty of fame? Or something far darker? How many more voices need to speak before the system truly holds power accountable? And do you believe justice can still be served, no matter how rich or famous someone is? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tune in for more videos like this.